do is we're going to look, and if that thing stops recording, y'all let me know. First thing we're going to do is look at this particular one to see some specifics. We have a house here, right? And then there's a dot, and there's a line at the top. We're going to look at what all of this is before we start trying it, right? So, our house. Oh, come on, clear it. Maybe, sorry, I don't know. Our house has a front to it, right? It has a main section, and it goes back, and it has a garage that we're going to add. And today we'll probably just do the main part of the house, right? We're not going to put the addition onto it yet. We're not going to put the garage on it yet. We're just going to do that main part. But it kind of connects to what we've done previously in that you have a shape, and then it shows a thickness. How do you think we get that depth of the house? With a vanishing point, just like you did in your letters. So if you look at the top of this page, on the left-hand side, there is a vanishing point. And that's how we're going to set up all this together. Now, with the vanishing point, there is also a horizontal line that goes through it. What do you think the horizontal line is? It's actually in the word horizontal.
Horizon.
The horizon, very good. The horizon is horizontal. How about that, John? But what is a horizon?
The edge of the sky that you can see, or the edge of the, right, as far as you can see.
Yes. Despite what our flat earthers think, our globe is round. This is why we cannot see the Eiffel Tower, even with a really, really powerful telescope. Because we get to a point of that roundness. Imagine this tape was the earth, right? If we're standing here, right, there's a point that we can't see past because the earth gets in the way. So we can't see the Eiffel Tower over here because we can't see around the curve. Just like you can't see around the curve when you're driving, and that's why those are non-passing lanes that you're not supposed to pass anybody up because you can't see what's coming around. So that point that your eyes hit the edge of the earth, that apex, just like when we were doing vanishing points on letters, when it hits that point and can't see beyond it, it looks like the land meets the sky. That is our horizon. Now the flat earthers are like, well, look, it's straight though, so the earth's flat. No, it's just such a big curve that you don't see it. Come on, man. But it is a horizontal line where our eyes can't see past. Now, if it's a field like this, you're just going to see sky meeting flat land. If it's mountains, you're going to see sky meeting mountains. If it's water, you're going to see sky meeting water. It just depends on what's off in the distance. And we are going to set up our horizon line kind of high on the page so that we are creating a bird's eye view of stuff. If you look at this view of the house, which I can't see anymore because the bar's in the way, there we go. If we look at this view of the house, you can see that we're kind of looking at it from above. It'd be like a drone shot of it, right? We're looking at it from above. And the reason that we're doing this house from above, a drone shot, is because it's the easiest one to start with. Our just level view, as if you're standing in front of a house, is a little trickier. And a worm's eye view, if you're way on the ground, like if you're laying down looking up at a house, is even trickier than that. This is the easier one to start with. The higher we put the horizon, the higher your viewpoint is. If you put the horizon right in the middle, then that means that you're looking at it just like if you were standing in front of it. If you put the horizon way at the bottom, that means like if you were a worm on the ground, kind of just looking up at things. It's a tricky kind of way to do things, but it all works. This is connect the dots. Everybody can do this. You know how people think, oh, it's art. You have to be born with these talents. Especially not this. This is just connect the dots. Anybody can learn this, right? So even if art is something that you've been struggling with, but I haven't seen that in any of y'all's stuff. Y'all are doing great. Anybody can learn this. And if you've ever thought about architecture or designing things or interior design, they have to know this perspective stuff because they have to draw out what they're doing, what their idea is, so that other people can see it. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our vanishing point, our horizon line, and our main part of our house. Just the house itself and the roof. We'll get into doors and all that kind of stuff after I check things. So what you need in front of you is a nice clean sheet of paper. You need your ruler, you need your pencil. Now I'm going to be drawing fairly darkly because I want to make sure that you can see it on this camera. But you should draw everything really lightly because there will be lines that you need to erase. All right? There will be lines that you need to erase. Any questions before we begin? Zane. All right. So, the horizon is what kind of line?
Straight.
It is straight. Very good. So, I'm going to use my ruler. This is a straight line.
No.
Is that right?
No.
No. Why is it not right?
It's not straight.
But it is straight. That's straight.
I mean, diagonal.
Oh, okay. It's slanted. So, what kind of line does it need to be? Horizontal line. How am I going to know if this is horizontal? Whee. How can I tell? Yeah, it's horizontal. But how do I know if it's horizontal? Oh, very, very good. The edge of my page is horizontal because that's cut by a machine. If my ruler is parallel to the edge of my page, which means this distance is about the same as this distance, that is a horizontal line. If it's angled, this distance is more than this distance. Therefore, it is not horizontal. Being able to create true horizontal lines is one of the things that some people have trouble with this because they're just drawing a line and they're not paying attention to those edges of the pages. So anytime we need a horizontal line, you want to make sure that you're comparing it to the edge of the page. Not a line you drew, always to the edge of the page. Now I'm going to put it, it's probably about 1.5 inches away from the top. You don't have to measure. Some of your rulers don't even have measurements. It's okay. All we need is kind of toward the top. You don't want it in the middle of the page. You don't want it at the bottom. Kind of toward the top. And draw that horizon going across the top of the page. Horizontal line. You see, you can't even see that. It's horrible. I'm going to have to force myself to draw darker. There we go. We can see that a little bit better. Yay. Now, once you have your horizon, we always put our vanishing points on the horizon. Vanishing point can't float up here. Vanishing point can't be down here. It needs to be on the horizon itself. I want you to clearly put yourself a vanishing point to the left of your horizon. It can be like right at the corner of a page. It can be a little further in. Doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter. As long as you use your vanishing point, you're going to be right. And that's a good thing. So we want to make sure that we're putting that vanishing point where we can see it. Wee, vanishing point. Now, if I was to draw my vanishing point little letters right here with vanishing points, I would bring my letters to that. I would connect it, go from there. Beautiful. Now, everything except for our horizontals and verticals will go to this point. So that's the 3 lines we need to be able to do. We need to be able to do horizontals, parallel with the top and bottom of the page. We need to be able to do verticals, parallel with the sides of the page. And we need to be able to connect the dots to our vanishing point. That doesn't seem too hard, does it? We can do that? We can do it. All right. So down here, the bottom right of the page, and you don't want it right down at the bottom because we are going to put things like some stepping stones and some shrubbery. You know, I'm going to landscape it up a little bit, make the house look nice. But down here, the bottom right of the page, we are going to set up a rectangle. I am not going to give you exact measurements for this thing. You can make it whatever size you want. If you make it really, really big, it's going to make your roof more trouble. Okay, I'm just telling you, it's going to make your roof more troublesome. If you make it, though, so that it is kind of a standard little rectangle, bottom right of the page, you're going to be all right. Now, mine was approximately 3 by 1.5 inch tall by 3 across. But I'm not going to be measuring this, and I'm just going to draw it. I'm going to make sure that the top of my rectangle is horizontal. And I'm going to draw myself a horizontal line. And again, draw lightly. I'm not drawing lightly. I'm going to make sure that the bottom of our rectangle is a nice horizontal line. I'm always comparing with the edge of my paper. And I'm going to make sure that the sides of my rectangle are parallel with the sides of my paper. Nice and vertical. No diagonal alleys for any of this. One right there. one right there. Now we draw lightly so that if your line went a little long, you can erase it. No big deal. But we're going to draw a rectangle. Looks like we can see it. All right. Now, we had practiced this before we had done lettering, right? We had practiced bringing things to a vanishing point. If I were to create the depth of this rectangle, what would be my next step? Think of my letters. If I wanted to create a thickness to this, what would be my next step? Any idea?
Vanishing point.
Very good. Thank you, Philip. Yeah, we connect corners to the vanishing point, right? However, I would like to show you a new little thing first. We're going to set up the roof before we bring this to the vanishing point. And here's why. On this house, you can see that the roof comes up off the top, correct? If I were to take this and bring it to the vanishing point, I would draw a line here as well, going to the vanishing point. Once I put on my roof, that would be a line I just have to erase. There's no point in drawing it if we set up the roof first, saving ourselves a little bit of work. Now, ooh, it's a triangle on top. Yeah, you might be thinking that that's a triangle on top. It is. But there's a specific way to make sure that the triangle is centered, right? So I want to make sure that the peak of my roof, the apex of my roof, is centered on that wall. How do I find the center of a shape? That's tough, huh? Any ideas of how we can do it? We can measure it, yeah. I can measure this. It's 3.5. That would be 1.25. Yuck math. What if it's not exactly 3.5? What if it's something a little weird? What if it has some 1/16 of an inch in there? I don't want y'all to have to do math. There's an easier way. Yay, art. There's an easier way. Here's how you find the center of that shape. And it works for any of these. Carpenters do this. Anybody know how to find the center of a ceiling to be able to lay your ceiling tiles centered? Anybody ever watched a carpenter do that? Okay, here's a carpentry trick for you. If you need to find the center of a floor, if you need to find a center of a ceiling, what you use is a chalk line, right? It's a thing that has chalk in it, usually blue or pink, and it has a string in it. You stretch that string out, right? And when it's nice and tight from corner to corner of the room, you take it and you snap it, pop, and it puts a line on your floor. You do the same thing the other way, corner to corner, snap the line, pop. Where those two corners met, that is the center. So we can do the same thing on here. We can connect the corner of our rectangle to the other corner of our rectangle and put a little line. You don't have to draw all the way across, right? We just need it kind of toward the middle. You can do the same thing to the other corners, top right, bottom left. Put yourself a little line. And that is the exact center of that shape with no math involved. Yay! That is the exact center. So if you wanted your door exactly centered, you're good to go. And if we want our roof exactly centered, this is definitely a way that we can do it. So corner to corner. You do your corner to corner, you will find the exact center of that wall. Any problems with that? That seemed pretty simple, right? So if you're in math, you got to find the exact center of stuff. Cross the corners. Yeah. You got it covered. Your teacher's going to ask you what you did, and you're going to say, I did art. Huh. No, that would be fun. I would love for y'all to tell me that story if it happened. Now, to find the peak of your roof, we're going to put your ruler on that center point where it connected. Nice and vertical, so compare it to the side of your paper. And I want you to put a dot somewhere along the ruler above your rectangle but below your horizon line. Do not go on top of your horizon line. We're making life more difficult. So anywhere between your rectangle itself and your horizon line, you want to put yourself a dot. Now, a really low roof tends to look a little strange. Really high roof, you can actually make a second story kind of situation going on if you wanted, right? But if you wanted to look like a standard one-story house, your distance of your rectangle is about the same as your distance of your roof. It doesn't have to be exact. You don't have to measure. But put yourself a dot that lines up with that center point. Just need a dot. Again, cross corners, find the center, line up the ruler with that point, and then put yourself a dot where you want the peak of your roof. Anybody having trouble with that? Y'all getting it? Now look, if you are starting to have trouble, just stop and watch the next 2 steps, right? I'll help you individually once we get that main structure done, because I'm going to come around and I'm going to help you catch up, right? But once you have that dot, to create your triangle, all you do is connect your dot to the top 2 corners of your rectangle, here and here. Now this is going to be the front surface of our building. That's the one that's facing us. Now once I have this front surface taken care of, not worried about doors or anything yet, I want to draw the thickness, I want to draw the depth of my house. That's where we need to start using our vanishing point. So I have a couple of lines that I'm going to need to make. And just like we did with our letters, what you want to do is put your ruler on your vanishing point and on a corner and see if it will work. So this top peak, do I need a line going toward the vanishing point? Yes, doesn't go through the building, so I need a vanishing point line. What about this top right-hand corner of my house? Do I need a vanishing point line? No, it goes through it. I don't need that. My house does not see through. That would be really kind of pointless to have a house that's see-through. Do not draw it from this corner, no. What about this top left-hand corner? Do I need a vanishing point line? Yes. Make sure it connects to the vanishing point. Draw yourself a line. What about the bottom right-hand corner? Do I need a vanishing point line here? No, I do not. I don't need one from this bottom right-hand corner. And the last one, how about the bottom left-hand corner? Yes, absolutely. And I am going to draw my vanishing point line on that one.
Can we bring it all the way to the point?
You can, but I didn't. Why do you think I didn't? I'm going to have to erase it anyway, right? So I just kind of guessed about where my building's going to stop, and I just put lines that long. If it helps you to draw it all the way to the vanishing point, go for it. But you will have to erase some of it. You will have to erase some of it. 2 more lines, and then I'm coming around to check. 2 more lines, and I'm coming around to check. What kind of lines do I need to stop this house?
Or vertical.
Vertical. Where do I need a vertical? At the end of which part? That part, the wall. It's hard to do this without pointing, huh? We use the demonstrative adjectives often. This, that, these, and those. And when you have demonstrative, the word demonstrative, the root of it is demonstrate. You kind of have to point. So when you hear this, you kind of have to look to see what I'm talking about. The side of the wall is vertical. Therefore, the side of the wall in the back will also be vertical. Always make sure, though, that you're comparing your ruler to the side of the paper, not necessarily your other line. And I'm going to stop about right there. I'm going to stop it. So I will have some extras. Now, I won't be able to erase heck well because I did draw super dark so the camera would see it. But if you've been drawing lightly, you should be able to erase nice and cleanly. Now, what about this one up here? Slanted. What kind of slant? Can I just put whatever I want? No, what it needs to do. Think about our letters. If we had an angled line, what do we do? We can see it, right? It's just kind of hard to describe it. Here's what you do. You see this angle in the front on our house? Yeah, use that one for the angle in the back, right? So all I did was put my ruler on the front angle right here, and I slid my ruler back, and I used that same angle in the back. I used that same angle in the back. And we now have a very, very, very simple house shape. We are not stopping this simple. We are not. We are going to be adding to this quite a bit. But at this point, I'm going to go around and check what you have. If you ran into trouble, we're going to fix it. Because if we don't fix it now, it's going to make everything else wonky. So I'm going to come around and check on it. You, if you need to fix things or erase lines, go for it. Check with each other. See if that's all good. And once we have this taken care of, then we are going to look at putting on the addition.